All right, I'm Mike Maranto, Senior Associate AD at Daemen College, and continuing with our Daemen at a Distance series, and joined right now by our head men's soccer coach, Bediako Swan. And Coach, want to thank you for being with me for a couple minutes today. Let's jump right in here and talk about your 2019 season, first season as a head coach for you. So let's start right there. You had some experience as an assistant at the Division I and Division II levels. What'd you learn first go around being a head coach?
I would say what I learned pretty much is most of the responsibility falls on myself right now. I mean, for the most part, even when it comes to practice plan and stuff like that, as an assistant coach, you give your input. At the end of the day, the coach makes the final decision. And now, when I became the head coach, pretty much I'm the one that makes all the final decisions. So yeah, I think it was a good learning experience for me. I think I had a good assistant staff to help me along the way.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about very, very young team. You guys had a lot of young guys playing important time for you out on the pitch. A lot of new guys as well. How did you go about getting everybody together on the same page? I know from a wins and losses standpoint, it wasn't, probably wasn't what you were hoping for. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And tell me about the steps that you were taking to bring those guys along throughout the fall.
To be honest, when I first took the job, I knew it was going to be, and at the time I was hired, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. So the most important for me was trying to get to know the new players, even the players that the former coach had recruited, and even the guys who were here, just to kind of get, the mindset of the team. I mean, at the end of the day, especially during the summer, everyone can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, when you show up to preseason, that's when you get a good idea of, what guys have been, up to. Yeah, as you said, it was a young team, and it was pretty much very much a rebuilding year for us. So for me, it was not really a focus on wins and losses. I mean, everybody likes to win, but for me, I just wanted to see, the players I had currently to see what I needed to recruit in the future. And I think the season, I saw some players improve significantly. I saw sometimes, we kind of get together and, and it's trying to change our culture also. I think that's what's the important thing. As you said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you kind of just start off like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You have to take into account the personalities you have and take some time and reflect, and then you try to build from there. So I think a lot of the players, they were, even though we didn't win any game last year, they were very happy with the togetherness of the guys on and off the field. So now it's more of recruiting players who are competitive enough to force those players to make their improvements themselves.
Knowing you for a little bit more than a year now, you strike me as a process over results guy anyway. Tell me a little bit about that, if that's a correct assessment on my part. Do you really enjoy the building process part of this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, for me, like I said, everybody likes to win. I like to win just as the other guy, but I also like to see improvement of the players. As a player myself, I would say, I guess in my younger days, I've always loved to practice and then, look to see how I perform on the field. With me coming in and talking to the players, I said, at the end of the day, doesn't matter what I want as a coach, it's what you want. I think, and I said, it's more of the mindset because, everybody says they want to be a championship team. Everybody wants to excel. However, it takes work. And so now you kind of get to see, well, what am I doing? Is it enough? Should I work harder? And I think during the season, a lot of it shown that we could have improved in our mental aspect, our mental focus during practices and game. And I think, especially in the spring, I think I got a lot of the players who start, turning over that leaf to not just wanting something, but, yeah, maybe you had worked hard in the past, but now at this level, you got to even work harder. And like I said, I was very happy with the process and the leaps and bounds we were going by during the spring season before our spring break, and obviously this current situation.
Well, I'm gonna come back to that thought in just a minute here. Tell me a little bit about some of the guys on your team. Maybe anybody you want to highlight that maybe you saw great improvements in.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think everyone improved. Now we had some shortcomings in terms of positions last year, especially in the center backs position. So there was a lot of makeshift of the players. But a lot of people saw our players, during the games and on the field. But in practices is where I really evaluate my players. And one person I think, well, at least one that started off was Jackson. I think Jackson had made leaps and bounds in an improvement overall for the season. But I think overall, most of the players definitely show improvement. And there was a lot of injuries here and there. Pontus, I think, did a wonderful job on the field. Then you have Jared, who was more of a vocal captain for us. You have Derek, who always put in the work. You had Craig as a senior. I mean, the only senior on the team, showing that hunger and that strive. Even when we were down goals, he was just still going and still fighting. And, I mean, overall, I think, like I said, as the season progressed, from where we started to where we ended, there was significant improvement in understanding the system and, my philosophy. And, like I said, again, the spring was the perfect time for that to, for me to even expand more on my philosophy of playing.
Sure. So again, part of that process, for anybody that's watching this that doesn't know, the collegiate soccer, you get a spring season to continue practicing for a certain number of hours a week. It's not as intense as the fall season, but you can at least get together with the team, have workouts. You can even play a couple of scrimmage games, which don't count for anything, but it's just an extra chance for you to evaluate. That was obviously all interrupted here, as you alluded to earlier, with the pandemic. So just how disruptive has this been, this situation that we're in, to your building process?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, before we went on spring break, pretty much I try to put the team in a very competitive environment. So pretty much all practices were competitive. They were and there were guys who were enjoying themselves. I think as a coach, it's important. Yes, you want the guys to work hard, but you also have to make it fun. And I think that's what we tried to do as a coaching staff, myself and James. And the guys were having fun, and my ideas and the philosophy of playing was, they were starting to get more understanding of it. And I think we actually ended, because our spring break happened right before the pandemic broke out. So that week we pretty much had a very good competitive league, if you want to call it inter-squad league. And it was very challenging for the guys. A lot of guys showed frustration, so show drive, show upliftment of themselves and their teammates, which as a coach you're always happy to see. So coming into, I would say, the second part of the spring, I was very excited, that we could have finally gone outdoors and expand a bit more. And then once that happened, it's kind of put a damper on everything. So now you kind of have to adapt, which I'm looking to do at the moment.
Sure. What what have you been doing with your team? I mean, you can't obviously physically be with them right now. There's no practices happening, that sort of thing. Um, it's a big adjustment for everybody. The students just transitioning to completely online learning. What have you guys as a coaching staff been doing to kind of support them through this difficult time?
Yeah, I'll say so. When this first happened, obviously I got in contact with everyone, make sure everyone is, safe and understanding of the situation. When it comes to the soccer aspect, I kind of laid off that for at least a week so that kids can get adjusted to their online classes. And then I slowly start, not implementing, but talking about things we can do. Um, I'm a person, I'm somewhat very optimistic. And I always want to be prepared. So, I just encourage you guys. Yes, this is a situation where it's a damper and what we had for the spring. But the most important thing is preparation for the fall. And yeah, it's obvious that we cannot prepare the way we would like to, but so can everyone else. So I'm not one to sit around and mope too much about stuff or complain because stuff not going right. You just got to adjust and you got to do what you can do. And so the guys knew that from the start. Um, and I've been having Zoom calls with, team meetings with some of the guys pretty much every Sunday. And I also do individual calls with those guys to see, how they are personally. But I think for the overall, I think everyone is offbeat. Obviously, we have a few international players who are back in their home country now. And unfortunately, I would say like in Spain, how bad the virus hit in that area. But I think overall, those guys are starting to show improvement of, the mentality of, trying to get past this and, being uplifting again.
Yeah, that's something I guess I should have thought of, but you're maybe more so than a lot of the other programs that we have at Daemen. Um, you've got guys really sprinkled throughout the world that you're trying to keep tabs on. So I imagine that's not the easiest thing to do. Tell me about how this has affected recruiting. I know you have you're expecting some guys to sign NLIs. When the NLI signing period resumes, which I know you can't talk about those guys specifically because of NCAA rules right now. They haven't signed their NLIs yet. But where do we stand? Presumably, hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Everything returns somewhat normal, and we have a somewhat normal fall season. I think that's the hope for everybody right now. Where do we stand with this program, with considering what you've got coming in recruiting wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are kind of lucky because I started the recruiting trail pretty early, since in 2019. So I was able to get a few commits as early as January and late January, early February. So most of my recruiting was pretty much done. And I was very excited about the with guys we have coming because they showed commitment to the program just from our conversation on a daily basis. So it didn't really hurt me in terms of recruiting. It's more now kind of you have to see with the travel situation, I guess travel restrictions and even quarantine coming into the fall if that's a situation that might happen. So now you're kind of looking at pretty much all options on the table. But like I said, with all of my recruits, I pretty much talk to them within a day to 2 days, and they're very excited. I mean, we want to get things done, and as you said, like earlier, we couldn't sign them, so we kind of kept to wait, and now we having a few NLI sent out, and I would say by the end of the month or even early May, we pretty much complete the recruiting class.
Great. Just wanted to throw a quick shout out to we've got a tremendous global programs program at Daemen, headed up by Ann Robinson. She's terrific. So I'm sure she's keeping tabs on your foreign guys as well, and will be up to speed on everything that's going to be happening when the returning guys are trying to return from overseas and the new guys are trying to get in from overseas. So we thank Ann and her staff for everything that they do for our international students and student athletes at Daemen. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I also want to throw out, I guess, also, thanks to admission. I mean, we had Sydney who just came on board too, as kind of the admission person in charge of the international students. And so I communicate with her a lot. And yeah, Anne and myself always communicate. So I think it's good to have, when you think about a team, a lot of people think about sometimes just, the immediate coaching staff. But since I've been here at Daemen, I think it has been, a wonderful experience with working with people outside of the athletic department, even, having conversation with some of the teachers, because I think overall, I want my program to excel in everything. I'm very competitive, but at the same time, I think the reality is we all came here and the guys all came here to get an education and, try to give them the best experience. So for myself, I try to reach out to as much people around campus and just try to get, the conversation, especially those who are in constant contact with my athletes.
That's a perfect note, Coach. Appreciate you tossing that in. Again, want to thank you for spending a couple minutes with me today. Wish you and your wife good times here, and hopefully we'll be back to normal time soon.
All right, thank you. Stay safe.
How about you too?
All right.